This week's channeled message from the angels gives us a shift in perspective that will make self-healing so much easier. So, welcome back to my channel, you guys. It is really great to have you here. And for those of you who are here for the first time, my name is Ann Tucker. I am a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by I go into a deep meditative state. I raise my awareness as high as I can go. I go a little higher, I connect, and then messages and healing come through, and I share that here with you guys on YouTube. And as I was saying, this week's message is helping us to better understand how we can look backward in order to move forward. So it's a beautiful message, and it will, I believe it gives us so many more tools in terms of understanding how to work with this instrument, our body, in terms of our self-healing in a way that is much easier than I think many of us understand. So I think it's really, really helpful. For those of you who are still are looking for a regular healing practice or would like to add to your healing practice, this Sunday is my peace bathing sessions. I have these sessions once a month. They are online via Zoom, and it's a meditation with the angels. The angels guide you through a group healing process, and these are deep healings. And the idea of the process is you do the healing live together as a group, and then you receive the recording, and you use the recording all month long, because every time you listen to that recording, it's like opening up a portal back again with the angels. So you're back in that vibration and in that energy. You also receive, as part of peace bathing, you also get transcripts to all their Friday live messages to help you to stay in that high vibration. So if you'd like to have the transcripts to these messages, they are available through the peace bathing program. So if you want to find out more about it, it's on my website, which is anntucker.com. And it's at anntucker.com/peace-bathing. So I hope you can join. It is this Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. All right. I hope you guys enjoy the message. All right. So here's what the angels say this week. They say, within you, within all things, there exists an essence of sufficient connection to remember what one was. The scent of who you are wafts in. An unencumbered imagination brings to itself the greater sonorous meaning, but the limited mind carries only a faint remembrance, an essence awakening, dawning, fuzzy in its perception. There is within yourselves the greater breadth and meaning of what you are. To encounter this, you are straining, reaching, becoming angry with the earth and her present mortality. We offer yourselves an understanding of what is within yourselves, a scent of who you are, looking backward at all things that were, and embodying into yourself now a hazarded estimate of your own knowledge to embody. To see yourself as that reflection of all that you were, to see yourself as that encumbered part of each instantiation that has ever been. To see what you are now as a mere portal to those looking backward states of aliveness, where you carried yourself in all harmony with your meaning. In your present measures to embody this now, this whole self, this mighty essence of your being, we draw you onward toward a greater reflection and knowledge, to feel within the self that what you are embodying is not now the presence of your ever after. It is that self you left behind, the self that ever wrangles within your existence, that caterwauls and gargles and makes itself unpleasant. We ask the self, when you are ready for the profound sense of what you are, to look backward, to feel in the self the lengths and tumble and fall down through which you have faltered, and to feel them as now in this incarnating, to feeling yourself that you are all these disasters, all these comeuppances, all these catastrophes. You embody this. Let the self embrace those lives. Let the self harmonize that which you've endured. Those unpleasantries, you fathom their dearth, their breadth, their impact. All this is truth to be witnessed by yourself. Let the self open your vista to include these lives. Let the self acknowledge what you've been through. Draw these into you, into your housing, into your body, into your awareness. And in the calling through you, release them to the hereafter. Release them in their knowledge and power over you. Release them as the culprits, your heavy embers. Let them flow through you. Release them. The patterns of your awakening are drawing near, and the time is coming to feel yourself lightening, broadening, stretching. And we ask you, as you move through these distant horizons, what will you call forward into the new now? Will it be that self still encumbered, still heavy, drawing forward into the next now that which you would rather leave behind? Gather up yourselves, your longest tresses, your distant lives, the far away glimmers that pull upon you now. How do you find them? Where are they? They feel in the self a hesitancy, a drawing back, a sense of the self as alive but in reverse, drawing apart, drawing back. Where do you resist, dears? Where do you pull aside, halt, and wait? Where are you scurrying to find yourself late, in a hurry? Feeling the calls of what announces itself as more important than your presence. Where are you triggered? Do you wear your hesitancy as a shade of umbrage or anger? Feel in the self, these call your name. Where is life not pleasant? These are the shades that darken your field. These are the pathways laid for you to find them. Follow them, dears. Follow those feelings. Trust in them. Trust in the self to name what ails you, to name what conquers your greatest measure. Let the self be praised and loved as you announce your presence. Let the self be held a treasure as you are witness to that which unfolds, which undoes. Feel nothing of the pull of these encounters as being deadly or overtiring. Sense not in that which troubles you some spot or reflection of what's to come. See these only as a portal to that which was before, already encountered. See them only as a history, as nothing incarnate that must trouble you. Let it be for memory alone that you encounter these. Let them trouble you no more. Announce these. Announce their calling times. Say, I feel you. I love you. I feel you within me. I acknowledge my dearth of understanding, my trust in nothing, my hesitancy, my anger, my lack of courage. Acknowledge these trines of behavior, these formations within yourself that draw you onward. Feel them a pull through interaction. Let them astound you with your own perception. See yourself now as worthy of being encountered. Spend for the self these times of reflection. Let the self be loved by you without judgment, without anger, without a pull to be different, to simply acknowledge and move through what is passing. Let it be regarded not as truth of now, but as a past energy. Feel in the self you may rise above it with some patience and understanding. Be not that self who dwells so deep in their own reflection they cannot regard the passage through. Be that self wise in their observation of themselves, who sees in these moments of turmoil a simple analogy to what has been and must now be purged. The feelings, then, are what matter, not the instance, not the story, not the history that you bear. The feelings are the knowledge of who you are. Be with them in their time of coming. Let them filter through your bones and your memories. Let them be purged through understanding. Being understood, being loved. These are their passage. Let them filter through your memory, your feelings, bound no more captive. Heralded in peace to your reflection. To be alive once more on earth is to give passage, give way to these entrapments, set yourself free. Be rid of your own past histories. Let them be liberated. You are worthy. You are ready. Fear not this passage. Okay. All right. So that's the message of the day, of the week. And it is a message about our healing. And they're really saying that this whole message, they're saying, number one, the reason we came here is to heal, right? This is a school. The earth is a school. We are here to heal ourselves. Even though we came here to be of service, and that is for sure, the reason we are of service is because it then helps us to heal, right? Everything comes back to this self, that you are here primarily, at the end of the day, your journey is a personal journey for yourself to help you to evolve as a soul. For all of us, every single one of us, is that we are our first and primary concern, our healing. And we're here to heal because this is a school. So when we say, what is our purpose? It's, yes, to heal ourselves. And then we also have other purposes. We have ways in which we're going to impact each other, right? And that's there too. But first and foremost is you, is the self, is how are we going to evolve through understanding ourselves better? And that's not a selfish thing. Our understanding ourselves infuses the universe, right? It informs the divine of itself. Like the goal, the reason we all became souls was so that the divine could have a better understanding of itself. So of course, that's going to be our first mission in being here, is to understand ourselves better, which means healing, right? And you're saying, wow, once again, excellent, awesome. You're saying, love this. Yeah, me too. So, okay, so that is our first objective. And they're saying, reminding us, reason we come to earth is to heal ourselves. Then they are also saying in this message that if we want to move up to embody our higher self, we must first embody our whole self, that we must bring forward. Basically, if you want to look forward, look backward. Look to all that we were and draw all of that in terms of our understanding. So this is the way forward, is to first look backward, that we can't bring in that whole self, or even to bring in the whole self is to embody all of this past self. All of our past selves is our way forward. So it's counterintuitive, right? Then the other piece of this that is so important is they're giving us a shift in perspective to help us understand that a much easier way to heal is to not get stuck in the moment and to feel what's coming up for us, but to always regard what's happening in the moment, the difficulties that we're going through right now, to see them only as a metaphor or an analogy to some past energy that we had in the past. It's serving as a reminder to bring us back to those feelings so that we can clear them. So that every time we're going through stuff, we can stay in our spiritual perspective of saying, oh, this is happening right now to show me that I have this feeling inside me. And the story doesn't matter. The circumstances, the people, whoever said that mean thing, whatever, does not matter. All that matters is the feeling that you're having. And to let yourself encounter that and recognize it as and love it and see it as part of who you are, that it's important, that, and validate it, right? And then by doing so, you let it move through you. It's like you send it back up to the divine and say, here's something else to learn, right? So let's break it down paragraph by paragraph. And you're saying, I feel my purpose is to be a whole soul. Yeah, whole self, whole soul. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we do that through our healing, for sure. All right, so they start out by saying, and they have many words of the day this week, many. So get ready for our vocabulary lessons. They say, within you, within all things, there exists an essence of sufficient connection to remember what one was. So they're saying we start out with a hint. We come in, we have a knowing and understanding that there's maybe something more to us, right? The scent of who you are wafts in. An unencumbered imagination brings to itself the greater sonorous meaning. So as we get clearer and out of our heads and into our heart, and we imagine that we are able to have a much better sense of it, and that to have a greater sonorous meaning. Sonorous means a sound that is imposing, deep and full. Like we get this full understanding of ourselves, right? When we're unencumbered. But the limited mind, so when we're not in the heart, when we're in our head, the limited mind carries only a faint remembrance, right? Just a haze. They say an essence, awakening, dawning, fuzzy in its perception. There is within yourselves the greater breadth and meaning of what you are. To encounter this, you are straining, reaching, becoming angry with the earth and her present mortality. So this, in a paragraph, is describing the human condition. We are trapped in our heads and we are angry at our own mortality. Right? We're mad at earth because of all the stuff that we are encountering, which is actually ourselves. So like that is straining, reaching. We're like, everything's a force. We're always pushing, straining until we move out of our head and into our heart and become unencumbered, right? So in a sentence, summing up the human condition. All right. So you're saying all whole nuts together. Yeah. That is the goal, to become whole nuts together. Exactly. So, all right, next paragraph. They say, we offer yourselves an understanding of what is within yourselves. So this is what they're going to be helping us with. A scent of who you are, looking backwards at all things that were, and drawing into yourself a now hazarded estimate for your own knowledge to embody. So it is that idea of a hazarded estimate. I like the word choice, of course, because it implies that there is the feeling of hazard. When we look backward and look at all of our past junk, we have the feeling that it is somehow risky. We are afraid to enter into those old feelings, that it feels like when feelings come up, there's the fear that somehow they're going to take us over and we will lose control, and how will we be able to deal with the chaos of life if we're waiting around and all this feeling stuff, right? So it does feel, doing this, it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to face ourselves and to let these feelings move through us, because they are inherently unpleasant. It's literally like jumping in. I think of like in Sweden they do the sauna where they stay in that nice cozy hot space and then they jump into the ice cold water, and it's like that jump is probably not like you're thinking about. That's not going to be feeling good. And that's what it's like to look at our feelings. Like there's the knowledge as we turn into that and feel into it, that it isn't going to be a pleasant feeling. But it helps to know that when we do it, it only lasts for 90 seconds. If we really give in and let our feelings come up, 90 seconds, and you will not be able to find it anymore in your field. It just slowly moves out. Yeah. So, and drawing into, so a hazarded estimate of your own knowledge to embody. To see yourself as that reflection of all that you were. To see yourself as that encumbered part of each instantiation that has ever been. So in other words, they're saying what we are as a soul embodied is we are a mixture of all the mess of stuff that we've been through. Like that is what makes us up, our experience and our understanding of ourselves in each of those experiences. So we are like, who are we? We are all the mess. That's who we are. And they're saying to see what you are now, this instantiation, as a mere portal to those looking backward states of aliveness where you carried yourself in all harmony with your meaning. So what they're saying here is that this life, this existence is a portal that allows us to experience and to access all of our past lives. And they've said this in a couple previous messages, that this life is a portal backward to everything we've ever been. And in those past lives, even though we probably or may not have achieved higher states of consciousness, we may have been bumbling through, we may have run into all kinds of trouble, that even though we still were carrying ourselves in alignment with our meaning, that it was by design, that it was by intention that we were put into those circumstances. So everything that's there is of value, in other words, right? And you're saying after sauna, that jump into the ice cold water is delicious. I bet you're right. I have not done that. And you probably are. When you get over hot, I bet you it does feel great. So I need a better metaphor there. Something unpleasant. And you're saying I need to a whole harmonic note of beauty, a harmonic note of beauty. Yes, a whole harmonic, exactly. That is what we hope for, to have that whole harmonic note. And that's the goal, is to bring all of ourselves into harmony. And they actually say that right up here. They say, so see yourselves as a mere portal to those looking backward states of alignment where you carried yourself in all harmony with your meaning. Next paragraph, they say, in your present measures to embody this now, this whole self. So in our desire to try to connect and bring our whole selves in, this mighty essence of your being, this higher self, we draw you onward toward a greater reflection and knowledge. So saying, okay, if you're trying to get there, if you're trying to get here, let us show you the pathway. They're saying we draw you onward to a greater reflection and knowledge. To you feel within the self what you are embodying is not now the presence of your ever after. It is the self you left behind. So they're saying we're not trying to get here right now. We're trying to get all of this stuff to embody, right? It is that self you left behind, that the self that ever wrangles with your essence, that caterwauls and gargles and makes itself unpleasant. I love that. I love their word choice. So that self that ever wrangles with your essence. So in other words, it's like, what is it in our field, in our history, that is creating the chaos in our lives today? That caterwauls. A caterwaul is a shrill or howling, wailing noise. And gargles, caterwauls and gargles to make itself unpleasant. So in other words, it's unpleasant by design so that we will notice it, so that we will encounter it, so that it'll bring up the feelings that we're meant to encounter, right? And you're saying, come with me to see, and you see, and you will see with me, to see the sauna. Do you know, that's a very appealing invitation. I would love to do that. That sounds fun. So, all right. So next paragraph is, we ask the self, when you are ready for the profound sense of what you are, to look backward. I love how clear that is. When you are ready for the profound sense of what you are, what you really are as a soul, look backward. To feel in the self the lengths of tumble and fall down through which you have faltered. And to feel them as now in this incarnating. So in other words, that all that places where we have messed up in the past, or where we've been hurt, where we have had bad experiences, all that, we're going to feel all of that as now in this incarnating, right? So that we can encounter it again. To feeling yourself that you are these disasters, all these comeuppances, all these catastrophes, that you embody this. To let the self embrace those lies, to let the self harmonize that which you've endured. So it really is like the beginning of, like when you sit, if you ever go and hear an orchestra as they're tuning up and all the instruments are playing all at the same time and nobody is making any sense. And then all of a sudden somebody taps the wand and boom, they're all playing as one. That's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to take all these past lives, and by bringing them in, we are the conductor. Our body is the thing that can take all this craziness and harmonize it. And that's the opportunity that we have right now. So that's the goal, right? The caterwauls, the crazy howls, and the jarring noises. And by facing them, each was like every time we face one, it's like recognizing another instrument in the orchestra and bringing it in. And we just keep doing that over and over again. Bring them back into the body, into the heart, acknowledge and love them. And then we create one harmony inside of us. And that's that, let the self harmonize that which you've endured. So there's no moment in here in which they don't acknowledge that it has been hard and that it is hard currently, but they are giving us a way of moving through it that's easier. And you're saying, now what if you have no idea how to access your past lives? What can one do? Okay, they answer that here. So I'm so glad you asked. They have an answer for that. All right. The next paragraph, they say, those unpleasantries, you fathom their dearth, their breadth, their impact. In other words, you have a sense of that things were really bad in past lives. Like you can see the stuff that's going on in your life right now that's hard, and you can be like, I wonder what I went through. Like, how did I get this wound? Like that must have been some nasty stuff I went through, because look at what I'm experiencing right now. And what you're experiencing right now is often not nearly as bad as what happened in the past. So we have a sense of their dearth, their breadth, their impact. All this is truth to be witnessed by yourself. And I think that is so important, that sentence. All of this is truth to be witnessed, because one of the hardest things in our own healing is the feeling, the desire to be acknowledged. And I think this is the reason why the whole concept of forgiveness, of when you've been wounded, when you've been hurt, and you think what you want is for someone to say they're sorry. And then they say they're sorry and it doesn't change anything, and you still feel just as bad. And the words I'm sorry don't carry anything for you. And the reason for it is that what was really going on is that somewhere inside of you, And, consciously, you're a divine being. And it's very hard for us to wrap our heads around the fact that bad things happened to us. It's very hard for us to believe it. It's almost like it can't be. That can't be possible. We just can't accept it. And so there's this part of ourselves that's saying, I'm really hurt. I have these really hard feelings and I don't know what to do with them. And then there's this other part of ourselves that's looking at that one saying, that can't be true. You didn't even go through that. That can't be. I don't believe it. And so there's this point inside of us that's going like, but I feel it. And then the other one's going like, nah, that can't be right. And so what we really want is for that to be acknowledged. What we really are craving is just for somebody to say it's true. Yeah, it happened. It's true. And it was just as bad as you think it was. It was that bad. Imagine how bad you think it was. It was worse. That's how bad it was. And that's what soothes your soul. That's what helps those feelings to go, oh, okay, all right, I'm not crazy, right? I really did feel that. It really did happen. I'm not just making this up, right? And that's what we crave. And I'm sorry just doesn't, like the words I'm sorry, don't do that. It has to be like a recognition of your experience, a true understanding of what you felt. And the best person to give you that is you. Yeah, because you're the one that knows what it really feels like. So that's why it says here's you understand what these are. All this is truth to be witnessed by yourself. So we need to witness our pain, witness our feelings, right? And to recognize that they are true and to give them that respect. So let the self open your vista to include these lives. Let the self acknowledge what you've been through. Draw these into you, into your housing, into your body, into your awareness. And in calling them through, so by doing this, through this process of acknowledging, accepting that this happened, you release them to the hereafter. So that is the healing process. The healing process is seeing it, recognizing it, acknowledging it, accepting it huge. And in the process of loving it, loving yourself through those feelings, then you release them to the hereafter. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be feeling loads of love while you're processing it. It means you're going to be feeling those feelings. But that's how you love them, is you feel them, right? And you let them move through you. Release them in their knowledge and power over you. Release them as the culprits, as your heavy embers. Let them flow through you. Release them. So culprits, to release them as the culprits. A culprit is the source of the problem, but it's also guilty of or accused of a crime. So I like that that it's the source of the problem, the culprit, the problem that you're experiencing, but to be guilty of a crime is also indicating karma, because guilt is all about like we impose our karma on ourselves. Karma is just a judgment that we've made against ourselves. So the word culprit embodies both of those meanings. It is the source of the problem, and it is also our karma, right? Your heavy embers. And embers, I love the choice of embers, your heavy embers, because embers are glowing coals. But the real use of the word embers in our language is that it's something that is dying but isn't finished yet. So I love that. It is implying that we are making progress, that we're on our way, that we've done a lot already, but we're not quite there yet, right? The embers are dying, but they're not gone yet. So we have more to do. So I love that. I love that choice of words. They're saying, let them flow through you, release them. And then you're saying, living the same destination. And you're saying, at some stage, I have had vivid dreams about my past lives, and I just knew, even while dreaming, they were past lives I was dreaming. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that is, those are wonderful when you have those, because it gives you such an insight, right? And you say, learning to love thyself. That is the process. And that is about learning to love your feelings. So many of us are going like, what is... Like there's a lot of mystery around what is self-love. Like, is it just, not body shaming? Is it just, I feel like self-love starts with loving your feelings, with acknowledging your feelings, allowing your feelings, that's where self-love starts. Yeah. Sorry. All right. Next paragraph. They say the patterns of your awakening are drawing near, and the time is coming to feel yourself lightening, broadening, stretching. So in other words, this period, and they've said this in several of our messages, this period of healing that we are in now is not going to last forever. That we have a period of time during which we are in this karmic construct, and we have the ability to clear ourselves very easily, because our bodies are an instrument that we can use to find our own injuries. And that won't be the case in the future. So we have this opportunity right now to learn how to use this as a way of healing our field, of seeing ourselves, which is very, very hard when we don't have some sort of conflict with ourselves. So out on the other side, where everything's easy and it's peaceful and it's lovely and it's wonderful, and how are we going to find our junk, right? There's nothing to confront it. So to point it out. And they're saying, so we're going to be coming to a time soon when we're going to be lightening, broadening, stretching, moving out of this phase. So we ask you now, as you move through these distant horizons, what will you call forward into the new now? Will it be that self still encumbered, still heavy, drawing forward into the next now, that which you would rather leave behind? So they're saying that you can move up into the next state of consciousness with all this baggage if you want to, that it's not going to hold you back, that you will, if you choose it, if you want to ascend, then you will ascend even with some of the baggage that's there left. But they're saying, do you want to do that? Do you want to bring that forward? And they're saying, probably not. So we want to use this time. And they're saying, gather up yourselves. Your longest tresses. I love that idea of your hair, like extending back to all your past lives, like gather it all up to you, right? Your longest tresses, your distant lives, the far away glimmers that pull upon you now. So these faint ideas you had of the way that you've been in past lives, bringing it all in. And you're saying that self-love thing always triggered me because I never felt that I didn't have love for myself. That's great. That's awesome. And I think, yes. And I think you can have a beautiful sense of self-love and then still find places where you might be in judgment of yourself, right? There's still little places in there that you might, like some people will be like, yep, I'm super struggling with that one. Other people are going to be like, okay, no, I'm pretty good. But there's still going to be those little places where you maybe don't put yourself first, or you don't, I'm not saying you should put yourself first all the time, but where you don't respect yourself in the way that maybe you should, right? There's always going to be something in there that we can work on. And all right, so then they say, how do you find them? So here, this is for you, Brandy. How do you find them? Where are they? So this is, how do you find these past junk that we're trying to work through? And here's how they describe it. They say they feel in the self a hesitancy, a drawing back. So how do you find it? Where is it that you hesitate in your life? Where do you draw back? They say a sense of the self as alive, but in reverse, drawing apart, drawing back. Where do you resist, dears? So is there any place in your life where you don't feel like you are full engines forward, where you feel like you are working against yourself, where you hesitate, where you draw back, right? They go on to say, where do you pull aside, halt, and wait? Is there anything you're waiting on? Anything that you'd like to do but you haven't started, right? There's another one. Right? They say, and these are all things to go through. So take this like a list and just look through and say, where in my life am I feeling this? Am I feeling to hesitate? I draw back. Where do I feel like I'm kind of living in reverse, where I'm not moving into what I want, that I'm resisting what I want? Where do I resist? Where do I pull aside and wait or procrastinate? Here's another one. Where are you scurrying to find yourself late in a hurry? Right? Feeling the call of what announces itself as more important than your presence. So where is it that you feel that like, oh my gosh, I got to hurry up and do this, that you're not living in the moment because you feel pressured by, you're putting something else as being more important than where you are right now. So notice that, right? These are things like when you're late, we're in your hurry. And some of us are chronically late. That is a problem. But notice when you are late, what you're thinking about. It's one thing to be late and to acknowledge it, but how do you feel when you're late? Focus on that, because you are putting something else more important than you in that moment. And not that I'm saying being late is a good thing, like it's not polite to be late, but what matters is the feeling you have. Feeling the calls of where are you triggered? So just straight out, what is it that makes you angry, that you react to? So these are all things to start noticing in your life. The feelings are the guide. This is the guide. This is how we're going to find it. And then, so then they go on to say, do you wear your hesitancy as a shade of umbrage or anger? So umbrage means offense or annoyance. So do you wear your hesitancy? Is there something in terms of your resistance that actually shows up for you as offense, annoyance, anger? So these are things to look at. So anger is like a lid that keeps other emotions down. It's anger is a higher vibration than shame and self-loathing and all these other things that are really, really hard. So then we just find anger and we tap it all down. And so you may be unable to find the other feelings because anger is there. So start with the anger. Start with the anger, the offense, the annoyance. So that's a great place to look. Feel in the self, these call your name. Where is life not pleasant? These are the shades that darken your field. So anything that you would look at your life and say, that's not pleasant. Like, I just don't like it. So write those down. What is that? What would you look at and be like, that really bugs me? And write that down. Where is it not pleasant? These are the shades that darken your field. These are the pathways laid for you to find them. Follow them, dears. Follow those feelings. Trust in them. Trust in the self to name what ails you. So the body is the instrument designed to help us navigate to find our past junk. And the way it does it is through our feelings. So when you have any feeling that is anything other than just good, anything that is lower than good, that is a compass to guide you to something that you need to clear. Right? And so trust that. And they're saying, trust in the self to name what ails you, to name what conquers your greatest measure. So the body is the instrument that we're using to guide us toward all the stuff in our field that we want to clear. And this is why, as we heal ourselves, as we get rid of more and more and more stuff, what you end up finding is not that your life becomes perfect or seamless all of a sudden. What you find is that you are no longer triggered, that you can move through your life without friction. You may still have the moment when your car breaks down because cars are mechanical and they break. But what changes is that it no longer completely wrecks your day. What you find is you're like, oh, okay, well, now I've got this, then I'll do something different. Change of plans, right? It's just a change. It becomes something that's no longer a big deal. And you respond to it differently. So the feelings are always what matters. The play as it's happening in front of us, the scene as it's being acted out, is not that important. What really matters is how you feel about it. All right. So then they go on to say, so this next two paragraphs is about how to receive. So when you find these things, when you find them in your field, you find yourself feeling triggered or unhappy or whatever it is, what do you do next? So this is say how to receive them. And then also this is offering you, these next paragraphs is offering us a shift in perspective to make it easier to move through these feelings. And you're saying, trying to see the areas where I put others before me. That is super hard and super important. Yeah, super, super important. Exactly. Where did you not have love for yourself? Yes. And you say, that's it. I realized that's what it meant. Perfect. So I look for bum notes. It's a good way of putting it, where your life is like humming, and then like, okay, what was that? What was that bum note? Why did I feel good all of a sudden and then feel not good? Yeah. Anything other than good is a bum note for me. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. All right. Next. So this next paragraph. Let the self be praised and loved as you announce your presence. So as you start to see these feelings in you, don't judge yourself for feeling bad. Look at that moment with loving compassion, right? Be praised and loved. Like praise, oh, look, I found another spot. Yay, me. Like I'm having a crummy day. Yay, me. Like I'm seeing myself. Yay, me, right? Love yourself in those moments. Let the self be held a treasure as you are a witness to that which undoes. So when you're in a moment when you just lose your poop, then let yourself be held a treasure. They're saying recognize that this is exactly why you're here, to have this experience so that you can bring it forward. Feel nothing of the pull of these encounters as being deadly or overtiring. So in other words, don't see if you have these experiences, if you're having these feelings, never feel that they're going to be your undoing, that they're going to lose yourself, right? They're never going to be deadly or overtiring. If you just walk into them, then like I said, they'll move through them very quickly. Sense not in that which troubles you some spot or reflection of what's to come. So don't worry that if you go into it now that this will be like, oh my gosh, this is just a mirror of all the things I'm going to have to face forevermore. Like see this as, nope, I can deal with this now and I can be done with it. See these only as a portal to that which was before already encountered. See them only as a history. And this is the big perceptual shift that they're offering us. that if you could move through your life and see what comes up as just when something's negative, see it only as an orchestration designed as a portal to your awareness to help you see something in your history. So you're not encountering it as like the person who's just being like thrown about in the chaos. You're kind of standing somewhat back from the chaos, feeling the feelings, but standing back from the chaos and witnessing this as a portal to your history and saying, oh, this is happening right now. I must have had these feelings sometime before, right? This is somehow connected to all that I am. And that is why it's being shown to me today. So it gives you the spiritual perspective, which is to not be lost in it, to be present in it, so that you can encounter the feelings and not be carried away by the feelings, right? To be aware of the feelings in a present state of mind, present state of heart. Yeah. All right. And you're saying they are gifts to be unwrapped. Totally. Yeah. And then they say see them only as a history, as nothing incarnate that must trouble you. Let it be for memory alone that you encounter these. Let them trouble you no more. So it's really trying to stay in that spiritual perspective, right? To be not carried away by your feelings. And then they say, announce their calling time. So when they come up, they're saying, announce it. Like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this right now. So announce it to yourself. Try to name the feeling. Try to be present with the feeling, right? Announce when they come up at their calling time. So in other words, when it comes up, be present. They say, I feel you. I love you. I feel you within me. So this is you acknowledging the feelings, acknowledging what you've been through. And these are really like past selves, like parts of you that have been left behind. So you're feeling that part of you, acknowledging that part of you, right? And you're saying, I acknowledge my dearth of understanding. In other words, acknowledge as you're encountering this person that you don't know their whole story. You're just feeling the feelings. You're saying, I acknowledge my dearth of understanding. Dearth is like a lack of. My trust in nothing, my hesitancy, my anger, my lack of courage. So you're acknowledging all the times in which you have had weaknesses. And you're saying, yeah, I recognize I am not perfect, right? And then you're saying, acknowledge these trines of behavior, these formations. And this is so interesting because this came up recently with one of my Golden Circle clients, the word trines, reflecting to methods of healing. And they're calling it now trines of behavior, these formations within yourself that draw you onward. And what this makes me think of, a trine, when I looked it up, a trine is referencing 120 degrees or 1/3 of a circle. So a trine references 3 parts. And then they talk about trines of behavior, these formations. So what this implies is that the structure of you and your past selves and your healing comes in 3. There's 3 parts to this. It's a formation of energy that has something to do with 3 parts of a triangle. And so this could be your current self, your past self, and your higher self, right? It could be that trine. So it is the trines of behavior. It could also be a trine between your current self and the trigger in your current environment and your spiritual perspective. So the body, the trigger, and the spiritual perspective, the higher self mind. So what they're talking about here, acknowledge these trines of behavior. So the behavior part is super important because it is an action. It is something that's happening, that's helping to draw this out of you, to recreate the feeling, to basically, it's almost like pushing a button that says, okay, we're going to trigger the super angry behavior in you now. We're going to trigger the road rage, right? We're going to press that button. So that is a trine of behavior. We're going to trigger it by pushing on one piece of that trifecta, probably the experience, whoever it is in your reality, that's going to then trigger the trifecta, that trigger the behavior, or the external stimuli, which then triggers your internal memory and then maybe connects to the past self or whatever it is, right? But it's a trine that it's like an energy formation is the main point here, which I just think is super interesting. So this kind of a tangent, but I think a super interesting tangent to help us understand ourselves better, to understand how we're made, right? And then you're saying angels are the best therapists. They give such good strategies to overcome our negative emotions. I totally agree, Mary. Yeah, I know. They do have an amazing, it seems so once you hear it, here's the crazy thing. When you hear the stuff, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of knew that. But that's the point. If you feel like you kind of knew it, it's because it's truth, and that's your soul knowing. So all the wisest things we hear, the truth, when we hear the truth, we feel it as something we already knew, because at the end of the day, we understand there's a spiritual understanding of what truth is. Truth is that feeling that, yeah, I kind of knew that somewhere in me. And it almost feels like a reminder, except that it wasn't top of mind. So yeah, the power of three, the previous, the present, and for the ever eternal. Yeah. And I think so it is really interesting. So somehow this process of healing enacts a trine of behavior that creates an energy formation that allows us to pull through these old experiences, the old cells, and it really sort of defies the whole concept of space-time. All of that allows us to access all of our past selves, draw them into the present, and heal them. So that is why it's important. Super interesting. Okay, then they go on to say, within yourself that draw you onward. So then this is the point of drawing you, closer to your healing. Feel them a pull through interaction. Right? Let them astound you with your own perception. See yourself now as worthy of being encountered. And so you astound yourself with your own self-knowledge, which is super cool. All right. And then the next paragraph here, they say, spend for the self these times of reflection. So take this time for yourself. Let the self be loved by you without judgment, without anger, without a pull to be different. So it's super important to go into these interactions without shaming yourself, without feeling bad about having the feelings that you're having, even if those feelings are not charitable, right? Even if they're not nice. Then the idea is to acknowledge the truth of them. Like if you're super angry at someone, acknowledge it. And maybe you are totally right to be angry. So acknowledge it. If you have really mean feelings, like sit with those and feel compassion, because it does not feel good to feel anger or meanness towards another person. It feels bad. So sit with that part of you and feel compassion for yourself, because it's hurting you when you feel those things. Yeah. To simply acknowledge and move through what is passing. Let it be regarded not as truth of now, but as a past energy. So this is that spiritual perspective. So when it's happening right now, when you're getting triggered, recognize this is just showing me myself. This is just showing me that I had this already. This person is not creating this feeling. When you get triggered, the person in front of you is not creating that feeling. You had it already. They are simply resonating and helping to draw it forward. So that person could be an angel in your life who is coming out on purpose to show you that you had this so that you can clear it. Yeah. So regard it as past energy. Feel in the self you may rise above it with some patience and understanding. So that's the goal. The easy way through all of this is rise above it. Spiritual perspective. And I love this last line. So listen to this. They say, be not that self who dwells so deep in their own reflection, they cannot regard the passage through. Right? Be that self wise in their observation of themselves, who sees in these moments of turmoil a simple analogy to what has been and must now be purged. So they're saying, don't get lost in the moment. Don't be so deep in it that you get lost in the moment. Instead, be wise in your observation of yourself and see in the moments, these difficult moments, it's just a simple analogy to what you already were and that what needs to be purged. It's just showing you yourself. So that's the wise step through, that way to go through this with a lot less pain. Yeah, super, super cool. And you're saying, let's have a trine healing party. Exactly. Yeah. All right. And then here is the last paragraph. They say the feelings then are what matter. So this is key. The feelings are what matter, not the instance, not the story, not the history that you bear. The feelings are the knowledge of who you are. Right there. There it is. That's the money moment of this whole thing, is that so often we think that when we're trying to say, I'm trying to understand myself, I'm trying to have the knowledge of myself, I'm trying to do all this stuff, we get really stuck in the story. We think it's almost like we have to learn a history book. We have to learn the facts and the dates and what life did I have and how old was I and what was my name and who hurt me. Like we think we have to know all that, and none of that matters. They're saying all that matters is the feelings. The feelings is what we are. And that is I think we get super hung up on like the Akashic records, and those are super helpful. Not to put those down in any way. Like, it can really help you to get where you need to go, to process things. But at the end of the day, it is not who we are. Who we are is what we feel. Because what we feel is a vibration. And the collection of vibrations that you hold is the song of your soul. And so as we are processing these, and to go back to your question, Brandy, about how do I find my past lives, it does not matter that you don't know what era that was, or what clothing you wore, or who you were, or what your name was. None of that matters. All that matters is what you felt. And your body is the perfect instrument to draw those feelings, the essence of who you were in that time, to draw them back into your current incarnation, as if you were feeling them for the first time, as if it was happening right now. When in fact, all that's happening right now is a little drama being put on for your benefit so that you can find those feelings. And this is the instrument to show you the way. So, wow, right? I just love it. I love that. The feelings are the knowledge of who we are. That is what we're trying to gather up. We're trying to gather up all our feelings and to not get hung up on the history. If anything, it does us a disservice, I think, at times, to get stuck in the story. It's like they were saying, don't be so deep in it. Don't be so deep in the story that we lose the message. The message is the feelings. Yeah. So they be with them in their time of coming. Be with your feelings when they come up. Be with them in their time of coming. Let them filter through your bones, through your memories. Let them be purged through understanding your feelings, not understanding the stories. Being understood, being loved is their passage. So how do we clear those feelings? We understand the feelings, not the story. We understand the feelings. We name the feeling. We love the feeling. We let the feeling express itself, right? And we love it as it does. We don't judge it, right? And then they say, being understood, being loved, these are their passage. Let them filter through your memory, your feelings. Let them filter through your memory. Your feelings bound, no more captive, because that's what they are. When they can't express, they just bottle up and they wait. And they just keep pinging you over and over again with the same experience. So you want to get rid of this. Heralded in peace to your reflection. Be alive. Okay, so this is really cool, this last sentence. To be alive once more on earth is to give passage, give way to these entrapments, to set yourself free. In other words, earth is a school. The whole point of coming is to let go of these old feelings. That's the whole point, is to not only just to let them go, but to understand them, to experience them, to acknowledge them, to learn about them, to learn about yourself, that you have these feelings, right? So that's the reason. So that's why we came back, to be alive on earth once more, right? That's why. Be rid of your own past histories. Let them be liberated. You are worthy. You are ready. Fear not this passage. So, love this message. I love this message so much. So, and you're saying, awesome, thanks. All the destinations you have ever felt are here right now. Yes, exactly. Yeah, this has been super helpful and enlightening. I'm so glad, you guys. And you're saying such a beautiful synopsis. Thanks so much, Sherry. So so that is the message of the week. And I personally, I love it. I think there's so much in this for us. And like I said, it feels like truth, and that's how you know it is, because it feels like it's something that you knew somewhere inside of you. And so that's because it's that universal truth, right? That spiritual wisdom. And just reminding us. But I love how it is so easy for us to think that the way to access our self-knowledge is by understanding the brain part, right? The like, oh, I want to know what I was wearing or what I did or who was I in that past life. And those are super compelling. I actually think one of the best things about knowing in that depth who you were, sometimes it can really help you get in touch with the feelings. And there's definite power in that. And some of you guys know I have one of my most personal, deepest healing experiences. I have a very firm and recollection of a lot of stuff from that past life. And I shared it in a talk once. Maybe I'll come back to that again for you guys sometime, because it was an amazing story. And I think some of that, it did help me to get in touch with the feelings. But I also think that there's a lot of value in exploring those because of how they connect people to their own sense of reincarnation and understanding that we are eternal. So there's a lot of value there. But in terms of this concept of how do I access my higher self? How do I reach that greater divinity that is me? It is through incorporating. It's by looking backward, incorporating all of this, understanding that that great divinity is made up of the feelings that we are. Yeah, so we got to pull those in, our longest stresses, right? Pull those back in and feel them. So you guys, thank you so much for joining me. And remember, Peace Bathing, for those of you who are Peace Bathing members, is this Sunday. 10 a.m. Pacific. And so if you are a part of it, don't forget to join in. And if you are wanting to join in, if you do not yet have a healing practice or regular healing practice, or if you would like to add something to your own healing regimen, and what a time to do it with all this lovely help on healing that we're getting from the angels. You can find the information at my website, AnnTucker.com. It is AnnTucker.com/peace-bathing, P-E-A-C-E, peace-bathing. All right, you guys, have a phenomenal weekend. Sending you guys so much love. And you're saying, awesome message. It's very cool message. Once again, a playbook for how to move through this time. I love that. Thank you so much, Mary. Brandy's saying, thank you very much for what you did for us on the Ascension Path, Ann. Oh, thank you, Brandy. And you're saying, thank you. Love you guys. All right. See you guys soon. See you next Friday Live. Bye-bye.